Welcome back to Behind the Insights, a vodcast series by MetrixLab. We talk to experts from all over the world to find out what's really driving today's hottest topics in insights.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
I know that you know me already,
Yes.
but it's Michele McDonald, and I am an SVP group lead with MetrixLab, which means that I lead a team of client directors and also relationship manager with my own accounts. And that is actually how I got to know you in the first place, which is amazing. If you want to just introduce yourself.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks. Yes, we've worked together. We'll talk about that shortly. I have a 30-year career in data insights, analytics, and foresight, strategic foresight. And I'm presently vice president of consumer and market insights and foresight at L'Oreal Group of companies.
And I know, at least in your signature, you have a very cool title that you include.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'm referred to as the Chief Curiosity Officer. It happens to be a topic, curiosity, as it relates to insight and foresight, that I've been conducting extensive research on for over a decade, and I have a master's degree focused on this topic. So hopefully we'll get to this in a little bit to talk about how curiosity connects to the world of market research and insights.
Well, and actually, that is exactly why I reached out to you.
Great.
I have been involved in an initiative at MetrixLab where we're working to articulate our purpose and evolve our positioning.
Yep.
And in that task force, one of the things that came very clear to us is that we as an organization have this challenger mentality. And as we start talking about challenger mentality and what that means, it's this very consistent drive across our organization for constant improvement, innovation, growth, and we're always kind of showing up with that entrepreneurial spirit, and that permeates across each of the different divisions and markets. And underpinning all of that is clearly curiosity.
Sure.
But it's something that we don't really unpick, and I that's actually why I wanted to reach out to you, because I feel like you have obviously done quite a bit of research on curiosity and can help us to dimensionalize and articulate what curiosity actually means.
Sure. I find that, prior to L'Oreal, I was a chief cultural strategy officer at Sparks and Honey and had other kinds of roles at agencies. So I have exposure, working with well over 100 Fortune 500 companies and brands. And my exposure has been so many of them use curiosity as part of their corporate, if you will, tenets or corporate cultural manifesto. And but yet, to be blunt, didn't see a lot of it was a lot of talk and not a lot of walk, right? And because if you're going to treat curiosity as an asset, as a strategic tool, as something that you are even as something that you're going to engineer, right? One would put the mechanisms in an organization to measure it through KPIs, to incentivize it, to have interventions, for example, that would help the employee base, explore, because this is really a conversation around exploration and discovery. And you can never unpack curiosity outside of the word, exploration and discovery, right? And in addition, I've found that it's to push people to be curious in the four modalities of curiosity that I understand it to be. It's often pushing people out of their comfort zone, and that requires one-on-one coaching. So I've found that to be quite effective. I also find buddies, setting up buddy systems where you have like with like curiosity styles matched to help explore the world together, but then you purposely buddy them up to mix them up so that you have different, like wearing different hats or, different Myers-Briggs personalities where they're working with each other to help stretch each other. And that all requires, trust. And an organization can't have be curious, or have a curious employee base, unless there's a lot of trust in that space. So sometimes that gets in the way of the challenges.
And I think it's trust, and I know for us, it's empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that everyone feels safe to take a risk and to speak up and to share their thoughts, share their ideas. And that is, I think, critical, certainly within our organization,
Yeah.
as we look to grow.
Sure, sure. And I think, there's like, if an organization is really serious about doubling down on elevating what I would call amplifying the curiosity of the culture and the organization, there's two things. It's not only amplifying the curiosity, it's also tactics to also apply it to the day to day, whether it's, I don't know, I just want to put it out there that curious people build curious brands or curious businesses. So and curious brands and curious businesses is the new form of engagement. So, if you're a consumer or user or target, a human is not curious about the brand or your business, you're not, you obviously you can see that through search, and you can see that through the types of engagement. They're not going to try the product. So,
Right,
or
because we can't just speak to the consumers anymore. They have to seek us out.
right, and you have to, and there has to be stickiness,
Mm.
and it's an ongoing relationship of continuously being curious to them, so that they're constantly interested in what you have to say, what you're doing, what your news is, what your products are, how you operate. And so this idea of, like I like to call it, a curiosity quotient for, or a curiosity index for brand health, is a real thing, that we measure engagement in many sophisticated ways today, and that's one of the metrics. But truly, from experience, it's I've curious people build those brands. and,
Yeah.
and so that's the application to business.
Well, and for us as an agency working with all these different brands, it's it's wild to see how corporations are trying to navigate those waters,
Mhm.
because the bigger you are, the more risk there is
Right,
to being curious and
right.
being open to change. And so, we keep seeing startups that come on the scene and disrupt and make a real difference, and the big guys try to just buy them up because that's the safer way to go.
Mhm.
And I think for us in our conversations with brands, it's really interesting because they're not always working, especially within insights, right? You're not always working with an agency that is
Right.
going to call you out or say, that direction is not going to really help you because it's not going to engage, or it's not going to stretch, or it's not going to disrupt.
Mhm.
And I think, sort of tying it back to us, right? That's what we do, is we push the envelope. So we push ourselves, but then we push our partners. And I think that actually is part of why MetrixLab has carved this niche for ourselves of, we're not just a tech platform, and we're not
Right.
the big corporation, but we're still human.
Yeah. Right.
And we have a point of view. Like, we're real people.
Exactly. Well, I think, when we talk about how to be applied curiosity, the framework that I just want to share with you, because it's not necessarily the obvious approach to curiosity, but if you look at animal behavior of curiosity, exploration, discovery, insight, right? Like, or curiosity, exploration, discovery. We don't know if the animal has insight, but the point is that human behavior follows a similar patterns, and there are four styles or behaviors of curiousness. Okay, the first is the most obvious, which is intellectual curiosity, exploring in your mind, asking questions and so forth. But there are three other modalities that people don't tend to think about, which are manifestations of curiosity, exploration, discovery. First of all is visual curiosity, just looking and being really good lookers. That's observation, and we use that all the time in our consumer research, whether you're behind the glass or in front of the glass, or out in the wild, but being deep observers and looking for a pattern. I mean, think about, the being someone on the beach 300 years ago and observing and seeing some ships on the horizon coming towards you and thinking, okay, what's happening here? That's a new thing. How do we react? And going back and rallying, your family. The point is that observation helps with survival, right? Then a third aspect of or modality of curiosity is what I call feeling. It's the sensory of, some people explore viscerally, roller coaster rides, food, putting themselves in thrilling environments, bungee jumping. There are lots of visceral ASMR, exploring through, oral and oral, right? Means. And so through the senses and through the feelings and emotions, that's a modality that some are comfortable with and others are not comfortable. For example, I struggle with that modality. So that I know I push myself specifically because in my profile, like my Myers-Briggs like curiosity profile, that's the weakest link. And then there's the fourth, which I know we're all, when I say it, you're all going to go, yeah, I know that. But we never tend to think of this as a modality of curiosity or exploration and discovery, which is basically what I call doing. It's experimentation, it's poking, it's physically going, that's travel, putting your body into a physical environment that, and with new people and new experiences, and making and building with the intention of experimentation. So see, feel, think, do. 4 modalities. You see, feel, think, and do. But then interestingly, within that, there are also 4 schema, okay, ways that are also part of your unique profile. So one is it trait or is it state? So in other words, is this your natural, is it nature versus nurture, right? Is this your natural state of curiosity, or did your boss make you, did your client ask you to research a topic? So the way you're going to attack that topic is going to be very different if it's trait versus state, because the level of interest and engagement.
Mhm.
We also have generalist, specialist, T-shaped. Somewhat, I have lots of hobbies I'm passionately curious about, right? And when I used to go do research at like the Maker Faire, for example, we found lots of people who are very specifically curious about 3D printing or Arduino, Raspberry Pi, or coding or gaming, and lack that general curiosity
Mhm.
around, just the world in general. Then you have the idea here is the external and internal motivations. Are you getting satisfaction from this, or am I getting rewarded, right, for my curiosity? And then finally, what I would like to say is that there's an intensity level. So some are very curious at a low grade level. Like,
Mhm.
I try to do that. I'm trying to introduce curiosity every day in my life. It's very hard, especially the day I had yesterday. I was at the computer all day doing number crunching and whatnot. But low grade, which is one style, which is kind of a slow burn. And then there are those that have bursts on the weekends and do different kinds of intensity. So there's an intensity level too that we can measure. Just by having a conversation about how your week went would reveal things about your style, which would be unique, and pairing you up to someone who might have a different cadence, who might have different motivations, who might be a specialist, whereas you're a generalist, or might be you're innate and someone else is a state. That could be very, very helpful to expand your satisfaction in your exploration and discovery. And I just want to say, just sorry to be so long-winded, but the research I had conducted with 177 insights professionals from around the world, it's on my website, insightscience.com. And that was a giant piece of research on how to be more insightful. The number one trait of our industry was curiosity, no surprise, but 70% believe that curious people are more insightful people. And over 60% believe that both curiosity and insightfulness can be taught. So it's plastic. And if we're saying that our job is insights and to be insightful, to see things, to discover, then this is directly connected to that process of analytics, insights, and so forth. And so, the idea here is that let's go to the root of it and see what we can do to build the curiosity muscles that will then translate into insightfulness and better work, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you pivoted, actually, because that, as I think of our teams and, how I've always tried to operate, I always think in terms of lifelong learners.
Right.
And, you don't just show up and do the same thing and rely on what you did in the past. You learn new, whether it's methodologies, techniques, new understanding of the world around you. And the way that you engage is different. So I've always tried to foster that in my teams.
Sure.
And in my family, right, in my home life as well. But inherent as part of that is curiosity.
Sure.
And it's interesting to start thinking in terms of mixing and matching the different modalities of
Sure.
curiosity to, when you're ideating on something to get to a more creative outcome. And then, again, tying it to, brands and our clients, like as we recruit into qual workshops,
Sure.
or as we are,
Absolutely.
seeking to innovate a product. There's so much that we can do to get us to a better place.
So, yeah, and I can to give you a real anecdote on this is that some of the research I've been doing is tracking normal innovation processes or ideation or even insights workshop processes. And by and large, I can through if you really engineer the curiosity and and curate the groups and push it and use exercises in that respect, that it's in all the four modalities of see, feeling, thinking, and doing and exploring, you can truncate something that would take 2 days to a morning. So so that's an exponential, like you're getting to better output sooner, which can save money. Okay, so that's at the bottom line. But it's
material.
also a better output. And I do think that's something you said really importantly, lifelong learning. But think of it differently. This is about reframing. Right? We're going to be a curious conversation right now. It's not just like lifelong learning. It's lifelong doing. It's lifelong seeing. It's lifelong feeling. It's lifelong all of those modalities. And so now it's thinking about how it's not just be curious, the bumper sticker that we see on all the cars. Curious. It's do curious. It's see curious.
Yeah.
It's feel curious. And that just changes the perspective, because we can really, especially our industry, get in the myopic the myopia of just thinking that intellectual curiosity and parsing data on my computer and sitting is what it's about. And if you choose to forest bathe or walk in the wind or explore or go to some events that might put you in a little bit more of an uncomfortable place, you might actually unlock new kind of connections on the work that you're doing. And I've found that to be the case, that it's like it creates new synapses and new discovery happens.
And it's so critical. Like, I think we had talked earlier about the this crossroads that we're facing, right, in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And it is a critical moment, and it's really an exciting moment, but it's also like a heartbreaking moment when I see people leaving our industry because it's not dynamic or because we're not embracing. And so I think it's, a passion point for me is push to be the proactive, be the thinkers who are driving actual action and material action, as opposed to the traditional researchers with the glasses and just reacting to
Absolutely.
sort of looking in the rearview mirror. I am so appreciative of speaking with you. I've been so curious to have this conversation for such a long time. And I adore working with you. I appreciate the partnership. And then especially for today, I greatly appreciate this conversation.
Thank you, Michelle. Likewise, we've had great engagements. So live curiously, right? That's my sign off. Live curiously. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.